So can you be in business and not be an inventor? Can you be an inventor and not have anything to do with business? I'm going to be explaining that quandary next. Hey, it's Don Skaggs, again with Empowered Inventing TV, where we try to help you help other people by taking your great innovation, the right opportunity, mixing that with sound wisdom, so you, not someone else, no, you can turn them into real things like products and businesses that make money. Now, I've got a question for you today. Can you be an inventor and not have anything to do with business? Can you be in business and not have anything to do with inventing or innovation? Well, is an inventing, so I guess, in other words, is inventing and business in either a one or the other proposition? Now, some people actually think that's a thing. You're an inventor or you're in business. And the two worlds could never meet. And there's actually people out there that actually think that. So I want to break this down a little bit for you today because there's some very, very important points, and at the end I've got one very, very big takeaway that I really want you to get. But first let's talk about, can you be in business without being an inventor? Well, of course you can. You can buy a franchise, you can open a laundromat, you could open a store, you could sell other people's stuff, other people's innovations. You don't have to, you could make somebody else's product and sell it. You could just buy somebody else's product and sell it. And that's done all the time, of course. Of course you can do that. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, in my humble opinion, I really do believe that a lot of small, real great businesses that start small can be started with a great innovation. And think about it, you've got to have a little bit of an edge. Let's say you're selling something that you could go and buy at Walmart. Or go on Amazon and buy, which pretty much everybody thinks is everything now. Let's just say that you've got a little store, a little shop somewhere, and you're selling, XYZ product or XYZ service. But let's stick to products for a minute. You have to, well, no, this is true in either case, but you have, my point is this, is that you have to differentiate yourself in the marketplace, just like you do if you come up with an innovation for the marketplace. If you sell, gifts, you have to make something different, something compelling than somebody just coming up on Amazon and saying, I'm just going to click here and buy it. I don't want to go down to this store. You have to make something that is different enough about you, whether it is I want to go and see and put my hands on this thing. I want to go and have that experience of, I want that support. Whatever it is, and I'm just making some stuff up off the top of my head at this point. But what I'm saying is this, my point is this, and that is that whatever it is you do, if you're just have a franchise business or whatever, you have to stand out in the marketplace. That requires some innovation sometimes, or innovative thinking. You're not being an inventor per se, you're not filing for a patent or anything like that. You might file for a trademark or something. But what I'm saying is this, is that you have to have a little innovation in there. The really good ones do, I believe, in my opinion. So let's reverse this around. Can you be an inventor and not have anything to do with business? And I've seen this a lot. Now, the short answer to this question is yes. You can be an inventor. I always think, when I think about this point, I always think about this one guy in one of my meetings one time. He got all frustrated in the middle of the meeting, and he got up and he said, Don, you don't understand. I don't want to be in business. I don't want to be a businessman. I just want to invent things. And you know, people sometimes have just said that. I don't want to do any of this business stuff. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. All I want to do is come up with stuff. All I want to do is be an inventor. And when I think of that person, I think of another person that was a long-standing member that you've seen a lot of these videos. You might have heard me mention before, and that's George. The gentleman's name was George. He was up in his 80s. He was a retired aerospace mechanic. And now George was one of the most prolific inventors I'd ever met. And George would come to our workshops, and in the Inventors Network Kentucky, we have these special workshops that we do. Let me do a little plug for it here, that if you become a member at kyinventors.org, you can actually participate. You sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, and you become part of this inner circle group where we all meet once a month online and sometimes in person, and when available, and then we all get to talk about, this is what I have, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm stuck. You get input from the group. It's a really, really cool way to do that. Well, George would come to these every month. And he would come every month usually with a new invention, a new something he came up with. George was a prolific inventor. And now and he would actually sometimes bring a prototype. A lot of times he would bring a prototype. Now, you know, it was rubber bands and glue sticks and duct tape, but it was cool. You know, it was functional, it worked, and it usually did something pretty cool. And now, was George going to commercialize any of these things? No. George was just having a ball coming up with stuff. He had some really great ideas, by the way. And he always told me, now George has long since passed away, but I always remember George, and I always like to mention him because he was such a creative, such a great inventor. And he came up with some really, really cool ideas that I think still could probably be something. He always told me one time, he says, Don, I want to put all these things in a book, then I want to sell the book. And I thought that was actually a creative, cool idea all by itself. So anyway, if you're like that first guy I mentioned, and if you don't want anything to do with this business stuff, Don, I don't want to be an entrepreneur, I just want to come up with stuff. If you want to be like George, no problem. You can be like George. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. However, if anywhere deep in your heart of hearts you have this expectation of, I'm going to come up with something really cool and I'm going to sell it, or somebody's going to give me money for it, if you've got any expectation of money changing hands anytime during the course of the development or execution of your idea, I'm sorry to tell you this, but that is called doing business. When you come up with something, if you do something for somebody and they give you money, that's called business. And you really, if you want that to happen, if you want that to happen well and want that to end well, you have to have a good understanding of that business process. You know, even if you license, Don, I don't want to have a business, I don't want to start, I just want to license stuff. Well, even if you license, you have to learn the business parts of marketing. You really need to know how to make a sell sheet, and we know some good people that can help you with that, by the way. And get, you need to sell it. You're actually selling something that doesn't exist yet when you're licensing. I always think that's a really big sales job. Now, again, nothing wrong with it. That's wonderful. I'm not much of a licensing guy, but I know a lot of people that are very, very good at it. And we've had a lot of our folks that, hey, they land that license, they go to that mailbox once a quarter and pick up that check. I guess most of it's direct deposit now. But anyway, what I'm saying is nothing wrong with that, but you've got to understand some business principles, because guess what? You're negotiating a contract. There is money changing hands. You're deciding how much you get. All these pieces of licensing have something to do, and the more you at least understand of that business part, the better you'll be at the licensing piece. And of course, the better you'll be at the entrepreneur, or if you want to start your own business. Now, let's say you say, well, Don, I want to make I understand that, Don. I need to be an entrepreneur. I need to have a little entree inventing. And that's a word I'd love to, kind of like Frankentype, we'd love to start that word, entree. You're a little bit country, you're a little bit rock and roll, you are entree inventor. Some people suggest that I turn it around and make it inventroneer. I like having entrepreneur in the front part because that's the root of what you have to have if, again, money's going to change hands. So, if you're not good at one, or you're not as good at one and the other, you say, well, Don, I want to do this, but I'm not really that good at it. Or you're an entrepreneur and you say, Don, I'd love to come up. I've always wanted to come up with a really cool product and do something like that, but I'm just not really good at the inventing part. Well, guess what? Now, you do need to learn, and you need to be familiar with that, because whoever you end up working with, because this is the next thing I'm going to suggest, is find other people who are better at some things than you are and bring them on your team. Make sure they're good people, make sure they're honest people, make sure they have integrity, but yes, do collaborate or partner with or have someone on your team that is really, really good at that. Now, that being said, you still need to be able to communicate with these people well, and you can't communicate them well unless you understand their world well. And that's why I say you need to, if you're on the inventing side, you need to learn about the entrepreneurship. If you're an entrepreneur, you need to learn about the inventing side and the engineering side. And that, you don't have to know it all, you just have to know enough to be able to effectively communicate and understand each other. This is very important. Because I believe, and this is one of my larger points here, is that small business entrepreneurs and inventors should really connect more. You guys are not connecting enough out there. You're really not, and you need to. And we'd love to help bring you together. We've got a website, kyinventors.org. We do meetings. We have ways for you to connect, and we would love to help you do that. So, but you guys need to talk to each other more. You need to understand each other's world more too. I think that's very, very important. So, so you need to do more collaborations. You need to connect more, and it's good to understand both sides of the fence. I actually, in my business, had to do both sides of the fence because we were a tiny little startup, starting bootstrapping on nothing. You've heard my story before, and I had to learn the product development side, and I had to learn the sales and marketing side, and that was extremely beneficial. This is why I am always promoting this, because I know how beneficial it was for me. So, too many times, I'll see an independent inventor that, or an inventor want to license with, or a inventor that works for a large company, a big business, or I'll see small entrepreneurs who will get their information, get their innovation from some big research place. And there's nothing wrong with those scenarios. But I think there are more opportunities out there with independent inventors and small entrepreneurs that if they got together, I think there's been too big of a mindset of the only way you can connect these two people is it has to be a small inventor and a big company, or a big company and a small entrepreneur. And I think that's not an even playing field sometimes. So I am promoting here today that you really do you guys need to find each other and connect. And again, we got one really good way of connecting you with our organization, and there's a lot of other organizations like ours around the country. If there's one closer to you, or if there's one that you like better, then I strongly suggest you get in touch with those folks. But get in touch with other people who are not like you. If you're an entrepreneur, find you a small inventor. If you're a small inventor, find you a small entrepreneur. And you guys need to get your heads together. So, what can you do? Or what do you want to be? Do you want to be just an inventor? Or do you want to be just an entrepreneur? Or do you want to be a little of both? Let me know in the comments. And if you're looking for more information, I suggest signing up for our upcoming course at Empowered Inventing Academy called Building a Business Around Your Idea. And it does familiarize you with all those parts. And it can be found, you can sign up for that now. It's not really cheap, but you can sign up for it at empoweredinventing.com. I'm Don Skaggs. This is Empowered Inventing TV. Like, subscribe, help us to build our tribe, and I'll look to see you at the next meeting, workshop, maybe one of our online courses, or on the next video.